Welcome to Courtney on Health, brought to you on malcolmpresents.com, a new internet platform featuring a variety of video shows on a 24/7 basis, and you can see all the old shows. But today, let's get on with Courtney. Max, do the intros.
Yeah, we have a new show.
Hey, Courtney.
Hey, Courtney.
It's not official till Max introduces us.
Hi, Courtney. Hi, Malcolm. And welcome to Courtney on Health. As Malcolm said, it's a Zoomcast, also a podcast, a series about how to get through these lingering COVID times that don't seem to go away, with tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional health and consultant in the New York metro area, and as we've previously always stated, national, international, universal, into the stars.
And spiritual.
And spiritual, because we need spiritual, mind and body, right, Courtney, go together. And so Courtney will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. And now, unusually, a poem, but really not unusually. And it's called Jane Fonda, and it's by Lynn A. Gauthier. Here we go. 1981 was a year I'll always remember. The movie on Golden Pond debuted. I saw it on the big screen. It was nice, nothing special, right up until that horrific scene, the one that changed their lives forever. My jaw suddenly dropped, instantly realizing its significance. The camera ever so slowly zoomed in, from ever so far and ever so deviously inching towards Jane Fonda in her mid-40s, sporting a skimpy bikini, revolutionizing expectations forever. Life as we knew it ended that day. Since then, women are heard muttering, "See what you did, Jane Fonda?" We could be muttering a lot of different things about Jane Fonda, but in this context, she was a guru of sorts in the exercise industry. And then Olivia Newton-John came upon the scene, did a song called Let's Get Physical, and was also released in 1981. I guess this could have been a mirror of what Jane was doing. The song had different interpretations, one being exercise, and I think the other one being carnal, if you watch the video. Yeah, right?
Carnal, please.
So definitely the guys like the carnal part, I'm sure. So, I mean, the chorus was like, let's get physical, physical. It's been in my brain all day. I want to get physical. Let's get into physical. And it was let me hear your body talk. Let me hear your body talk. So our bodies talk and say things to us. And we know sometimes we need to relieve pain or do exercise. But both Jane Fonda, now in her 80s, and Olivia Newton-John, now in her 70s, both knew the importance of exercise. Fonda's popular workout videos and Newton-John's Let's Get Physical music video were instrumental in boosting the fitness craze. We need to keep our core in good shape, but we cannot disregard our upper body, especially shoulders, shoulder muscles, and deltoids, as it helps reduce the chance of rotator cuff injuries. When your body talks to you in the form of aches and pains, or a music video, you need to take action to relieve and prevent pain. It is therefore important to focus on upper body strength to avoid issues with posture and reduce problems lifting and carrying heavy items. So upper body strengthening should be a part of your regular fitness routine. And Courtney has some great info on working your upper body to help support daily activities. So what do you say about this, Courtney? What say you?
What say I?
What say you? What say you about upper body strength and how important it is?
Yeah. So, absolutely kudos to Jane Fonda and to Olivia Newton-John. They look great in their 80s and their 70s. So, God bless them. I'm not sure it was the best messaging, because what we missed out on, unfortunately, during that period was it was just a spotlight purely on the physical side of things. And what was de-emphasized is what I'd like to talk about today, which is beyond sort of the flexing, the vanity of having great upper body muscle tone. We've got some real data now to suggest that there are far more benefits than that. But having said that, if you look at people, and this is sort of a little bit of a sidebar, right? People who have self-confidence for whatever reason, either mental, confidence, they're fit, so they're more confident. They tend to hold themselves straighter because they're not looking down at the ground. There's a correlation. People who are depressed, and if you noticed it, there's a slouch, there's a look at the ground. I don't want to necessarily say, never focus on, the looking good part of it, because if that looking good instills confidence in you and makes you feel good, then there's something to be said about that, the positivity associated with that, and the benefits of that. So, but what we know now, you touched on this a little bit, Maxine. Upper body strength absolutely supports activities of daily living across the lifespan. So if you're listening to this right now or watching this right now, and you're in the lifting kiddos phase, right? And I'm not talking about the infant. So a tiny little infant that's, about, 6 pounds or so is work. But in terms of how impactful it is on your upper body strength, minimal. As those kids get older, lifting kids, it gets harder and harder. Getting a squirmy kid into a car seat or into a high chair, you see how that upper body strength really comes into play. So lifting kids, heavy items, although I will say lifting any heavy items, you always want to focus on lower, right? You let those legs do the work, but strong arms are very much instrumental in the moving of that without injuring yourself. Reaching for items, putting away groceries, opening jars. As we move through the lifespan, absolutely upper body strength fosters independence as we age. You want to be able to do the things, and maybe you can't do them like you did when you were 20, but you want to be able to do things throughout your day without always seeking assistance. So you can see that's one positive reason to maintain or get upper body strength. We know now that, based on some recent research, that upper body strength, so tone muscles in the upper body, and we'll talk about what those muscles are in a second, can actually benefit cardiovascular health. And this is independent of weight loss that you might achieve by doing the weight training for your upper body. So that's really helpful information. So that tells us not only is cardiovascular exercise helpful for the ticker, but you know what? Some good resistance training in the upper body can yield some benefits as well. So really helpful, important information for us to keep in mind. It helps with our metabolic rate. Do you guys remember? If you guys remember, we've spoken a little bit about this before. The more muscle you've got on board, the greater your engine is going to rev. Your metabolic rate stays nice and revved up. What does that mean? You burn more calories. As we age, it's your ace in the hole to keep weight checked. Helpful for stronger bones. Most people know that things like walking and running are helpful. They're weight-bearing exercise that help with strong bones, but a lot of people don't realize that resistance training is helpful in the same way. So nice, strong bones. So another reason why upper body strength is important. Injury prevention. The reality is it's going to be helpful for when you're exercising and also for those activities of daily living. And I rarely talk about personal stuff in my world, but my dad fell shortly after my mom passed a few years back, and could not get up off the floor. He was by himself in the home, did not have the upper body strength to get him up off the floor. So, so many reasons in that basket of why bother with upper body strength, in addition to the pure, physical side. You mentioned it, Maxine, posture. If you're strengthening those muscles that support that spine, in all likelihood, you are going to stand taller. It puts less pressure on your spine. Remember, your spine can do all sorts of things, right? It can bend, it can twist, but it's really not designed to take the brunt of a lot of the work. The muscles should, and nice, strong upper body muscles will support that. Strong muscles, you'll stand taller. So many reasons why we may want to maintain some upper body strength. Do you guys know what some of the muscles are that are in your upper body?
Well, there's the deltoids, there's the biceps and triceps.
That's
And
it.
I have tears in both my rotator cuffs.
Yeah.
I don't know if walking my dog and when she pulls me, is that resistance training or is that just killing my shoulders? I mean, I don't know. And on her leash, I have like a elastic thing. So it's kind of, it's and she's all muscle.
Yeah.
So she pull, I'm getting like, I have to figure out a way to go like this or something. I don't
Pull her
know.
in. If you pull it
Right, really, my PT said, pull it in, keep it in. He goes, try to make it work for you. I'm like, great,
I know.
but it's really important. Those three, are there more? What else are there?
Yeah, so your pectoralis major and minor, so that's just a big long chain
Is
of
that your
letters,
chest?
your chest muscles. And then on the backside, you guys, anybody who follows me knows I'm always talking about this and encouraging this. Whatever you do to the front of the body, you must do to the back of the body to maintain that equilibrium of strength. On the back side there, you've got your latissimus dorsi. So for those of you who listen, that's the V shape that's created if those muscles are nice and toned. So those are your mid-back muscles and the muscles in the side. Your trapezius muscles are really up here. If you think sort of, along where your shoulders are, they're your upper back muscles, biceps, triceps, just like you mentioned. The arms, the muscles in your forearms. So Maxine, those are your flexors and your pronators in there. Let's not underestimate the muscles that often get forgotten about between your elbow and your wrist.
I think the dog walking really does something to that. I really believe that that's the case.
And you mentioned the shoulder, the deltoid. So the deltoid is a big word for the entire shoulder group. So you always want to remember that there are muscles in the front. So your anterior deltoid, the medial deltoid, which is right down the middle. So the head that's right here, and your posterior deltoid. So back here. You want to work the whole group, not just one of them. So we're going to go through some quick exercises that anybody can do if you have the benefit of a fitness center, a gym, a home gym, where you've got more than just what I'm using here today. So dumbbells and exercise bands, resistance bands, fantastic. The one encouragement I would give you is to please make sure you are working everything. So don't just do bench presses, right? Those are fabulous for your chest muscles, as is a push-up. And I'm going to show you a wall push-up in a second. Those are fantastic for the chest, but you don't want to forget about the back. So keep in mind, if you're already in a fitness center, I'm sure there are trainers there. Seek out their help. If you're completely at a loss for exercises for, let's say, your lats or your trapezius muscles, he or she can help you with that. You can also go on to YouTube. I know there's so many bits of information, and search for muscles for the upper back, and you should get a whole suite of options for you.
Just a tip for those over 65, as I'm soon going to be. As I'm soon going to be. Medicare has a program where you can get free memberships at a health club, so you don't say, "Oh, I can't afford it." You can get a free membership. Just being over 65.
Or reduction in membership, depending on where it is and what club you have. I just had a quick question.
All the major ones, like I'm on the 24-hour fitness I do, and Los Angeles. A lot of the major clubs have that fitness program in. Just speak to your local people, and they charge you nothing, or they charge you very little.
Really? Well,
But
I
there
don't
ain't
know.
no
Up here, it's a little different, I think. But anyway, I just have a quick question, Courtney, on, everything's connected, and the rotator cuff, is very injury prone, especially athletes or anyone in the aging areas. And they speak of referred pain in the deltoids, in the bicep and the tricep, and everything's connected. You said because the back and the front have to be worked. What are your quick thoughts on how to work those areas to make sure that everything is you know.
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the deltoid group though, because I do feel like they're often forgotten. Everybody does bicep curls, right? Because it's just even my son, I brought him to the gym with me this week, and what it was like, he was wired. He grabbed a dumbbell and he instantly started doing this. So the shoulder group, absolutely. We want to strengthen the muscles to help them help tendons and ligaments in that group. So that one of the best ways, and I can, again, if you're in a gym, you can do this with a dumbbell, use the weight that's appropriate for you. If you have an exercise band, if you don't have one, it is so inexpensive to get one. It is the one piece of equipment that I think you should have at your home if you've got nothing else. And it's really, I think within most people's budget, we're talking less than, a pack of them is less than 20 bucks. And they tend to last a really long time. So the whole group, Maxine, always, starting, doesn't really matter where you're going to start as long as you're working everything. So generally straight out to the side is going to focus on the middle part of the deltoid, that shoulder part that's in the middle, that muscle there. You're recruiting muscle fibers in the front and then the back at this time also, because just like you said, they're all connected, but the main focus is going to be that mid deltoid. Shift direction, palm down, and bring your hand forward. What have we done? You're still working the whole muscle group, but now you've shifted that focus to the muscles in the front. And if you have your hand on here, I encourage anybody to do this. Put your hand on the muscle while you're moving through the range of motion, and you will feel it firing off. You also might realize that the front and the back may be weaker than the middle, particularly the muscles in the back, because we just don't use them all that much. The one group that tends to get forgotten about all the time is the rear deltoid. It's very rarely used. We just don't, our activities throughout the day don't recruit those muscle fibers all that regularly. So what you want to do, support navel to spine. You've always heard me say that. Knees are slightly bent. And now you're going to pull that arm to the side. Your palm is facing the floor. Put your hand on that muscle group, and you will feel that it is mostly the fibers in the back of the shoulder that are getting used. That's just one set, Maxine, but that is one of the best, most efficient ways. And obviously what we do to one side, you got to do the other side. But in the absence of gym and weights, that's the way to go.
Yeah, question, what do dips do? I have, one of these power towers, and I get on top and I lift up and then I bend down.
So you're doing this, right?
Yeah. What do they work at specifically?
Tricep, again, it's not just your triceps, but predominantly your tricep muscles. So the dip.
I also feel it in the shoulders.
Well, keep in mind, your shoulder's going to take the work, because most people's triceps, back of the body, remember what we said, are going to be on the weaker side. So what you really want to do is make sure that you're not coming any higher than this. So your elbows really need not come any higher than your shoulder. And then adjust the weight. Is it just body weight? The assisted ones, fitness centers have the ones that are weight assisted. So rather than doing your whole body weight, which can be hard, dipping your body weight or even bench pressing your own body weight is a lot harder than it sounds. These assist machines help you out by letting you adjust. So instead of doing your total body weight, maybe it allows you to do half your body weight or a third of your body weight. So I would encourage that you work on the form first and then let the weight come later on. Important to have that form and keep those elbows close. I'm just going to turn back behind you. Don't let them wing out. The second you wing out like this, you're going to really focus more on those muscles in your shoulders. But thank you, Malcolm, because that was a great way to segue into tricep, because there's so many different tricep exercises. What you want to do is shake it up constantly. Don't keep doing the same exercise all the time. So don't always do a dip. Maybe do an extension. You can do a band that we just spoke about. And pushing away from your body, very effective at doing triceps. You can do an overhead extension with a dumbbell if you have it. You can use a gallon of milk empty, and then fill it up with water, depending on how much weight you can handle, up over your head, drop down and do an overhead extension. shake it up a little bit so you're using all of those different muscles. Again, remember there's 3 heads in the tricep group, 2 heads in the bicep group. Don't forget about any of them. The more variety, the better. One of the best exercises for your lats, those latissimus dorsi, your mid back, in the absence of a gym. Again, if you have a gym, what you want to look for is that lat pull down. So that's the one where you're either standing or sitting and you grab a bar and you pull down. That is one of the pieces of equipment that will focus on those muscles. In the absence of that, if you have a band up over your head, pull down, and here's the trick. You want to squeeze those shoulder blades together as you pull down and away. Really make it work for you. Excellent way to use these bands to really fire up those lat muscles. If you don't have anything at home, so if you're listening and watching us too, it's like, listen, I don't have any of this stuff. I've never even thought about using upper back muscles before. The one thing I want you to do is stand tall, fingertips up, and without anything at all, I want you to squeeze down, pull your shoulder blades together and your elbows nice and close to the body, and do as many of those as you can until you start to fatigue. And I assure you, they will fatigue after a while.
How about just hanging?
Well, hanging's great for a stretch, but it's a very static motion, right? What you want is something a little bit more dynamic to move the muscle fibers. I love just kind of like, if I'm at I have a place where I can hang like that, it just feels good because I feel like it straightens out my spine. Now, of course, hanging there at some point, particularly your forearm muscles, you're going to feel because you're holding onto a bar. So you're using a lot of those forearm muscles to keep you in place. So it's a great stretch, but I really encourage more fluid, more full range of motion exercises for full benefit.
Okay, now I'm talking about for older folks such as I. I have arthritis in both shoulders, so I use it to, I do those exercises that you talk, but I feel the pain in my shoulder, and I know it's not the muscle, it's the joint.
Mm-hmm.
Does that aggravate the arthritis, or you just have to live with it?
I know being told when you're suffering, like when you're in pain, like to live with it is not the answer that you want to hear. So I think it's a combination of 2 things. I think blood flow constantly. So any kind of aerobic activity to keep blood moving through the body. So whether that be walking or swimming or running or whatever you have available, or a bike, whatever you have available to you. And then absolutely, unless your physician has told you absolutely do not do anything, which is very rare. Very rare when you hear an orthopedist say to you, do nothing. It's always do some kind of exercise, whether it be just what I showed you, Malcolm, this with absolutely no weight whatsoever, and just full range of motion up and down is going to be beneficial. I like to, when I'm working with older individuals with very limited range of motion, I've done this with my dad before, because he's very stiff and he doesn't have a whole lot, but after that fall, I said, we got to work on, on these arms of yours, right? Your upper body. So a push-up on the floor is obvious, sounds like, oh, that's great. Anybody can do those. Well, anybody who can actually get up and off the floor, right? So if you can't do that, using a chair that's firmly in place, a very heavy chair that's firmly in place, or simply using a wall. Palms flat on the wall, okay? Bring yourself towards and away. And your hands should be roughly around shoulder height. And do as many as you can of those. Something that simple that constantly is moving those muscles, but without a whole lot of weight or much resistance is going to be beneficial and helpful.
Well, I have tears in my rotator cuffs, both sides. And the left kind of healed, the right is still having issues. And when I went to PT, that I got certain exercises which I'm continuing to do, at home, because they said, absolutely do not do nothing. But they also said, be careful, because you could, go zippy down. It could get worse. So you figure, like, how hard do I have to go? How how much to, is there a gentler way to do this? So is there a gentler way to do this, to do some of these?
Well, you're not going to like my answer.
No.
Well, you might like my answer, but I think you guys know me by now. I try to make this applicable to everyone, and clearly not everyone has a pool. So the best way to make something gentler is to do it in a pool, which is why aquasize, aqua aerobics, weights in the pool is so helpful for so many people, because it instantly, obviously, takes a lot of that stress, off of the joints. So if you have access to a pool, use it. I realize that for some people, we're moving into warmer weather, and maybe there's something outside that can be available, which would be great. But if you've got that, that's the way to do it. Or just like I was talking about with Malcolm, some of these exercises that don't have any resistance whatsoever, and you're simply using things like assisted push-ups on a wall, arms out to the side, and simply, Maxine, doing like circles. You want to start a little bit, larger circles, and then smaller ones. Keeping that the joints nice and lubricated is always going to be helpful, and those tend to be very gentle.
Right. Thank you.
The
This show is so informative.
The exercise that I do, would they aggravate my arthritis, or that's there no matter what?
What was your question? I'm sorry, I dropped out.
Whether the exercises that I do, does that aggravate the arthritis? Does it make it worse? I mean, the pain I can take,
Right.
because I've been doing it for years, and I have the pain, and I know it's not the muscle connection, because the muscles are fine. It's the joints hurt.
Okay.
And what I do to, at the after, I take my Motrin, which, the doctors approved.
Right, sure.
But does it make the arthritis worse, or the arthritis is just there, a fact of life?
Yeah, I think it's the fact of life. Some people are more predisposed to it than others. I think, again, obviously, if you're really struggling, and you're obviously seeing a physician, but generally, exercise is not going to worsen the arthritis. It is actually going to help the arthritis. So it's just a matter of tweaking it to a point where you're comfortable, and then of course managing the pain. With arthritis, as you are well aware, Malcolm, unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, it's just the way it is. It really comes down to pain management. So titrating your anti-inflammatory medication to the point where you're using the least amount for the greatest benefit. And of course, just watching your gut, making sure you're always having it with food, so that you're preserving your gut while managing your pain.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff people need to know.
Yeah.
And they don't know, which is why they must listen to Courtney on Health.
We have to have another show on this.
Okay.
Where you can do some of the other exercises also, because you only went, some of the basics, but I'm sure a lot of people, again, not only, seniors, but younger people do. Because I know a lot of problems that most of us have is a lack of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when they start to do exercises, you strain your muscles because you're not used to gently elongating them.
Right. And what I will say for working with clients, and I will say this is my younger clients, they tend to, the consistency is going to be key. So not all of them, but some of them tend to gun it like on a particular day or a couple of days, and then lax off, or maybe it's they really exercise hard for a couple of weeks and then they drop off. And what we know is that, although certainly not harmful, the greater benefit would be with consistency. So weight training at least 2 to 3 times, just even 2 times a week is going to be beneficial, and rotating that, the types of exercising you're doing. When I'm working with a client, like I said, I'm not kidding about the bicep. I see a lot of bicep curls going on either with a bar or with dumbbells. For chest, I see a lot of benching, and I see, but I don't see a lot of variation in the chest exercises. So it's constantly work. Like, don't keep migrating to the stuff that you're super comfortable with. Either, call me up or write it down or put it in your phone, so that you're constantly reminded to shake it up and change up those exercises. But the consistency is key, rather than gunning it once and then waiting another week or two to do it again.
Speaking of consistency, a half hour is up.
Right. Right. And we need to do a show, because I think inflammation also plays a role in a lot of this.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that show.
But Max, take us out.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit her website, CourtneyGravities.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. This is Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness, and we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.
Ta-ta.
Bye.